Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to some Chelsea news. It felt weird yesterday. It was the first day that I've taken off from posting on the channel for I think about 3 weeks in a row, which might be my own personal record, but I missed you lot yesterday, so if you missed me too, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and why not hit the like button, because today we are talking about Mason Mount's situation. We're going to go into a bit more details on the goalkeeping situation after we saw Kepa going back to old school Kepa at the weekend against Everton. Brahim Diaz, where has this one come from? Andreas Pereira, where has this one come from? Panic stations are beginning to rise. Malo Gusto news and Christian Pulisic potential exit to Manchester United. But we're going to begin with the updates regarding Mason Mount, because this is the news that is circulating every single day. Because of the way that Mount has always been a player in the spotlight for Chelsea Football Club ever since Frank Lampard introduced him to the team, did really well at Derby. Both of them, they basically come together. It was a package deal. Frank Lampard, the new manager, Mason Mount, the new star boy midfielder. And then, as Mason Mount was doing so well, people start to talk about you when you're making headlines. When Mount kicks off his Chelsea career with goal on his home debut against Leicester City, followed up the following week by, I think it was a double away at Norwich City, winning the game for Chelsea. I remember being there at Carrow Road, watching the game thinking, this Mason Mount kid is something special. We're in for an exciting season. When an academy player comes in and starts to do well, it immediately makes everybody excited around the club. That is what Mason Mount did. Now at the moment, Mason Mount, we reported it last week, we were talking about how, because he didn't sign that new contract under the Roman Abramovich regime, he's lost out on millions upon millions of pounds, which isn't any concern of mine. Of course, I want everyone to make as much money as they possibly can, as long as it's warranted and just, but Mason Mount signing that new Chelsea contract. The latest news is that Mason Mount has partnered with Neil Fewings, part of the Roof Group, to help with talks as there's no agreement with Chelsea on a new deal. What is important to know here is this does not mean that Tony Mount, Mason Mount's father, is no longer his agent. Tony Mount is still working with Mason, but Mason Mount has drafted new people in to help, because the way things are going at the moment, it looks as though conversations will need to be had with other clubs, because Chelsea want to sell if an agreement doesn't come in between the club and Mount within the course of the next few months. Chelsea know that they cannot afford to let Mason Mount just sit there in the club and leave for free in a year. If he doesn't want to stay, then Chelsea have no other reason to keep him at the club. We sell him now whilst we can still make money from him. It's pure profit for the club. So if he doesn't want to sign that new deal, it's mutually beneficial. So at the moment, people are like, oh, Mount's gone. He's bringing in new agency group. No, that is not how this works. But of course, Tony Mount, not as experienced as Roof Group, in order to help these players to be able to get new clubs for the best terms possible. Do I still think there's a chance that Mason Mount remains at Chelsea? Yes, I do believe that Mount wants to stay at Chelsea. And the thing I find ridiculous about what Chelsea are doing here is they want him to sign like a 7 or 8 year contract, which would see him stay at Chelsea until he's 32 years old. Now, the reason Mount doesn't want to accept this, I totally understand. And that is because players, they look at their career, and at certain ages, you kind of lose that ability to sign another big long contract with sign-on bonuses, with sign-on fees, etc. So at 32, Mason Mount will have probably played the best years of his career. So another contract for a 5-6 year deal. At that point, it's not really possible unless your name is Cristiano bloody Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. So if Chelsea can compromise here, this is surely the win-win for everybody. At the moment, I'm about to segue into a story where I'm talking about Andreas Pereira, Manchester United reject, doing all right at Fulham. We're talking about Andreas Pereira as a potential replacement for Starboy, Champions League winner Mason Mount. I know there's some of you watching this that have never liked Mason Mount and the fact that he's having a sticky period now. People are loving it. I don't understand this mentality. We know just how good of a player Mount is. And wherever he goes, Chelsea will regret this. If we cannot come to a compromise with the duration of the contract being the sticking point, then I think it's ridiculous. People use the narrative that, oh, Mount wants 300 grand, just because that is the easiest way to be like, it's not worth that, what an idiot. That's not how this goes. People are trying to force their own agendas here because of premeditated thought processes that we've had for so long, and it just proves them right. If Mount doesn't sign, this doesn't make any sense. I think Chelsea would be absolutely stupid to allow Mason Mount to go to a Liverpool. There's a reason why Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle, Man City are the teams that want Mount. People can recognise that this kid's got talent. At the moment, I think in terms of the personnel with the way that Potter's trying to play, Mount is the one who loses out here, because in terms of the way that Mount is best suited, we don't have those kind of roles in this team right now. And at the same time, because the form was starting to tinker towards the negative side during Tuchel's reign, it's now elaborated even further. But Mason Mount is such a good player, and players during their careers go through these periods. Moving to discuss Andreas Pereira. Now, tell me if I'm really missing something here. Is it the fact that he didn't make it at Manchester United and he plays for Fulham? Is that the reason why I'm so negative about this deal? Now, Rob Dawson from ESPN, Chelsea are among the clubs monitoring Andreas Pereira's situation at Fulham as they begin considering replacements for Mason Mount. Manchester United's owner obviously talking about this as well, because they're laughing here, because if Chelsea come knocking on the door for Fulham's players, United have a 20% sell-on clause. So Man United make 20% of the revenue here that Fulham would make. So Man United are absolutely loving this. And he didn't make it at Manchester United. And he signed for Fulham and everyone was like, not sure. Maybe this is one of those where we look at it. And to be fair, Andreas Pereira is having a good season at Fulham. But I'm sorry, Andreas Pereira is half the player that Mason Mount is. So if Chelsea are going to end up offloading Andreas Pereira potentially to a Mount to Man United, Liverpool or City, and Andreas Pereira is seen as the replacement, I think Chelsea are taking a double round of L's here. Because we're signing a player who's not as good. We're going to have to spend on him because he's a Fulham player now. And we're strengthening a rival immediately by giving them Mason Mount. I think this is lunacy from Chelsea Football Club. I can't believe we're allowing this to happen. But let's see what does happen over the course of the next few days. Another interesting piece of business. And again, tell me if I'm wrong here. Is this just because it didn't work out at Man City that Brahim Diaz to Chelsea doesn't excite me whatsoever? Brahim Diaz's career has not taken off the way that we thought it would. Former Manchester City winger, Newcastle linked with him as well. I mean, I would rather just take a gamble that Christian Pulisic is going to show better signs than what we've seen of him so far at Chelsea. Where's the Christian Pulisic that we spent 54 million on? If he's not injured, we get little sparks. But we're looking to sell Pulisic to Man United and then bringing in Brahim Diaz. To me, this just sounds like multiple ripple effect Chelsea potential signings that just don't benefit Chelsea whatsoever. I don't think Brahim Diaz is a significantly better footballer than Christian Pulisic, yet we are interested in selling Pulisic to Manchester United, and we're also interested in selling Mason Mount to United, City or Liverpool, and bringing in a Fulham player, Andreas Pereira, Man United reject as well. Chelsea, let's not let this happen, please. We don't want to just be action-reaction signing. Chelsea need to be looking at this build and be like, we've spent hundreds of millions on this. We're not messing about here. There's also talks that Chelsea might be interested in bringing in Luis Campos from PSG for another role behind the scenes at the club. Chelsea are building something, which if you look at it from the bird's eye perspective, Chelsea are building a massive project here. We don't want to start just because we can't tie down deals for certain players. We can't just keep selling them to our direct competitors and then bringing in average footballers as replacements. We've got to be pinpointing, or if it's Graham Potter's going to be that guy, pinpoint the positions you want to strengthen. Use all of this new scientific research that we're doing with data and analysts at the club to pinpoint the specific players we want, go for the best versions of that, and build a proper squad that is going to compete. Don't just try and piece this together and hope that piece fits. A jigsaw is 1,000 pieces, and if one of the pieces isn't the right size, you don't have a finished piece of a jigsaw puzzle. That's not how it works. Chelsea need to look at it like that right now. And the way I see it is we might be missing 3 pieces. but there are perfect fits on the market. There's a perfect fit striker. There's definitely a better goalkeeper out there, or maybe Gabriel Slonina is that guy. Save the money for now. Andre Onana is the next story we're going to talk about. Chelsea, apparently, the cat is having a go here. She wants to have her two penneth. Oh no. What are you doing? What do you want to say? What do you want to say to the mandem? Andre Onana. God, I was going down a tangent there, wasn't I? Chelsea won Andre Onana. We've heard this one before. He's now at Inter Milan, formerly of Ajax. And I'm reading some in here. I don't know if this is just international duty and people are getting bored. Chelsea are willing to make a crazy offer, says Marco Barzaghi. Mendy and 40 million euros. Edouard Mendy's a Champions League winner. Some of these stories that we're reporting on today, for me, I think we just need to take a little step back and a breather here. 40 million euros plus Edouard Mendy for Andre Onana. Tell me once again if my day off yesterday means I'm out of the loop. Or maybe I'm just out of the loop in general. But isn't this a redonkulous sum of money, with Mendy included? I think it could be. And at the end of the day, Chelsea do not want to stunt the growth. Gabriel Slonina, many people around and in Chelsea Football Club right now are saying that Slonina does have the potential to be a long-term number one at Chelsea. So, with Kepa doing a Kepa, I'm going to call it that, at the weekend, Mendy potentially wanting to leave too, I can understand why neither of these two goalkeepers would want to be number twos. Chelsea will need to sign a top goalkeeper. But I think, again, Diogo Costa of Porto, absolute brilliant goalkeeper. That would be my number one option. But then again, are we looking at signing a number one for too far into the future to stunt the growth of Slonina? The goalkeeping situation at Chelsea is a very interesting one to keep an eye on. We've heard that Slonina won't be judged until pre-season as to whether he's one of the three. And Marcus Bettinelli is cycling to the team hotel. So he's chill. He's loving life, his big bets, at Chelsea Football Club. And the final story of the day, this has been a bit of like a roller coaster of a video, to be honest. I can't believe some of the stuff I'm reading here. Malo Gusto, though, this is good news. As much as he's injured, which is not good news, he's been spending time between London and France during the recovery. I say this is great. Malo Gusto joins us in the summer from France. And I would say to get him in and around Cobham for his recovery, to be interacting on a bi-daily or daily basis with his future teammates, can only benefit him and Chelsea Football Club. So good news that Chelsea are hands-on with the recovery of the injury. And yeah, what a wonderful video this has been. We have discussed a multitude of different Chelsea stories here. But let me know your thoughts on the goalkeeping situation and the Mount saga / replacement saga. This blows my mind. But yeah, subscribe to GBFC if you are new. We're creeping towards 250,000 Chelsea fans, which would be amazing. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Come on, you Blues.